Welcome back. So, while reading the work by Bell Hooks about love, I realized that what I was getting was that she didn't see the Black Panthers the way I see them, the way some of us see them. I think she, based on their stance on self-defense, or she thinks that they're not about love, and I think they're totally about love. Love does works of love and not talk of love, and they did works of love. And self-defense is love. Self-defense says, I am as important as you, and you do not have a right to break my boundaries without consequence. So I wanted to put them back into conversation side by side with each other, so we don't get a different sense of what love is, because as Baldwin says, love is war, love is growing up, right? And yeah, so I'm going to get to Huey, because there's nothing so profound I can say that Huey couldn't say it better. Huey P Newton speaks, and he's answering the question about whether we should have had a separate black country inside America, seceding like the Confederates wanted to do, but not by war, by legislation. Some time ago, I received a message from the Republic of New Africa with a series of questions concerning the philosophy of the Black Panther, and very detailed questions on certain stands and our thinking on these positions. At that time, I wasn't prepared to send a message out. I had to think about many of the questions, and due to the situation here, it's very difficult for me to communicate. So that explains this lapse in time between question and answer. I feel very seen by Huey as him being more like a researcher, a thinker, than a fighting person. That kind of, I have to wait to answer things. I myself feel that way. I won't be able to expound on all the questions, but I'd like to give some general explanations to the Black Panther's position as related to the Republic of New Africa. The Black Panther Party's position is that the black people in the country are definitely colonized and suffer from the colonial plight more than any ethnic group in the country. Perhaps with the exception of the Indian, meaning the indigenous peoples, but surely as much as even the Indian population. We too realize that the American people in general are colonized, and they're colonized simply because they're under a capitalistic society, with a small clique of rulers who are the owners of the means of production in control of decision making. They're the decision making body. Therefore, that takes the freedom from the American people in general, and they simply work for the enrichment of this ruling class. As far as blacks are concerned, of course, we're at the very bottom of this ladder. We are exploited not only by the small group of ruling class, we are oppressed and repressed by even the working class whites in the country. And this is simply because the ruling class, the white ruling class, uses the old Roman policy of divide and conquer. In other words, the white working class is used as pawns or tools of the ruling class, but they too are enslaved. So it's with that historical thing of dividing and ruling that the ruling class can effectively and successfully keep the majority of people in an oppressed position, because they're divided in certain interest groups, even though these interests that the lower class groups carry doesn't necessarily serve as beneficial to them. The interest groups are now identity politics, about controlling people's physical life, telling them who they can love and who they can't love. As far as our stand on separation, we have demanded, as you very well know, a plebiscite of the UN to supervise so that the blacks can decide whether they want to secede the Union or what position they'll take on it. As far as the Black Panther Party is concerned, we're subject to the will of the majority of the people. Democracy, not dictatorship, right? But we feel that the people should have this choice, and we feel that the Republic of New Africa is perfectly justified in demanding and declaring the right to secede the Union. So we don't have any contradiction between the Black Panthers Party position and the Republic of New Africa's position that I know of. It's simply a matter of timing. We feel that certain conditions will have to exist before we're even given the right to make that choice. We also take into consideration the fact that if blacks at this minute were able to secede from the Union and say have 5 states or 6 states, it would be impossible to function in freedom side by side with a capitalistic, imperialistic country. We all know that Mother Africa is not free simply because of imperialism, because of Western domination, and there's no indication that it would be any different if we were to have a separate country here in North America. As a matter of fact, by all logic, we would suffer imperialism and colonialism even more than the third world developing country is suffering it now. They're geographically better located, thousands of miles away, but yet they're not able to be free simply because of highly technological developments. The highest technological developments that the West has that makes the world so much smaller. One small neighborhood. And if he thought that was the issue then, oh my God, what would he think of now? So taking all these things into consideration, we conclude that the only way that we're going to be free is to wipe out once and for all the oppressive structure of America. We realize we can't do this without a popular struggle, without many alliances and coalitions. And this is a reason that we're moving in the direction that we are, to get as many alliances as possible of people that are equally dissatisfied with the system. And also we're carrying on or attempting to carry on a political education campaign so that the people will be aware of the conditions, and therefore perhaps they will be able to take steps to controlling these conditions. We think this is the most important thing at this time, is to be able to organize in some fashion so that we'll have a formidable force to challenge the structure of the American empire. I don't see someone there hating anyone. I see someone there hating oppression. I see someone there who wants a better world for everyone. Love is so complicated, but it's always for the good of everyone. Anything that elevates one person, anything that allows an oppressor to strike down at another person isn't love. And resisting oppression, resisting being hit, resisting abuse is self-love. And I will tell you, it's also neighbor love, because it tells that neighbor, you are out of bounds, back up, or you will be no more. So tell me what you think. Thanks for listening.